folks. How's everybody doing today? Well, I'm waiting for this to load up. It is advising time. Registration opens on November 9th, so if you are a programming or web major, you need to set up a advising meeting with me. So you can send me a Canvas message or an email and we'll find a time to meet and we can get you ready for the spring semester. Make sure you get all the classes you need so that you can graduate without having to do extra semesters. I can also help you with any issues you're having with the classes, the programs. Anything that's a barrier to your education. Okay, let's take a look where we were here. Pull up the chat here. And so I feel like a lot of you don't realize, this stuff is, in this class, is fairly difficult, and teaching yourself is, it's like doing doing something the hard way. And so if you come to these, it's, what are we going to have, like 5 or 6 more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So, there's still time. But if you come to the live streams and you're having issues with your program, you can bring it up in the chat and I will go over it. All right. At this point, if you are on track to, or you want to become a software developer, one thing is you'll have to develop the skills to help yourself quite a bit. Because in some smaller companies, you're going to be the, even as an intern or a new person on the job, you will probably be the expert, even though you may not have very much work experience. Okay, I'm trying to get the chat open here. Okay, there we go. So, again, turning it off and on again fixed it. There we go. Remember that. It always helps. It's a good fallback. If that doesn't work, then the problem's going to be a lot more complicated usually. Also make sure everything's plugged in. That's happened to me before. It's very embarrassing, but everybody makes mistakes. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you need to come to class. You need to ask me questions. If you can't come to class, I totally understand. You just need to schedule time to talk to me, because you're not going to be able to get a job unless you can do this stuff on your own. And figuring out how to do it on your own includes asking people that know how to do it to show you. My courses are designed to not be a waste of time, so you have to put in the time. Okay. Andy, if you're there, let me know. Okay, let's check out where we were. So let's go to the material. Actually, let's open the class first. Lakeland College is seeking the interest level within the campus community in online gaming and esports. We would greatly appreciate your thoughts and input as we explore esports and online gaming. I think I need to email someone. Who at Lakeland would consider esports? So weird. I like it because it would definitely draw in people that are tech savvy. Do they know like every esport is about murdering other people in the game? Just make believe. Okay. Web scripting 2, checking out the course material, see where we are. Okay. So we'd made it far enough here. Let's see. Let me load it up and see where we were. I think we looked at how to set up the database, but I don't think we did flick list 6 yet. Or maybe we did. I feel like I kind of released you on build a blog. All right, let's just switch to... Oh yeah, we did this. We did the setup for this, so we need to do this. Okay, the studio is going to have us create a user and database, which let's see, create MySQL user and database. So we're not using what they're using for MySQL, which is PHP MyAdmin. It's very outdated. It's fine for small things, but you probably shouldn't use, if you have a choice, you shouldn't be using things that use PHP at this point, in my opinion. And probably, could you guess what language PHP MyAdmin uses? PHP. Okay. So what does it say? Okay. And I'm pretty sure I went over all of this before, but I want to go through the database setup steps one more time. So, because you won't be able to continue with anything in this class unless you can do this. So, not that anything isn't important. We're literally only I'm the only one doing it, but I'm only teaching you things that I consider not to be a waste of time. Not a waste of my time, but a waste of your time. I'm trying to maximize your benefit. So, if I talk about something, it's because I think you need to know it. All right. Let's take a look at where we are in fall 2020. Okay. Right. You have to use commands. There we go. And then we want to go into flick list Flask. So in the beginning of the course, I introduced you to Linux, and you should have been using it, all this time. There's a command cheat sheet. I hope that you've been using it weekly, at least, if not daily, trying to work on this stuff. It's an extremely valuable skill to have, is using a terminal in Linux. And you're only going to learn by practicing, all right? Anyway, here we are. Let's see what branch we're on here. Your branch is up to date with Origin Studio 5. And I believe we're going to be moving into Studio 6 today. Okay. Yes. So let's go in. Let's open it. In the text editor. Okay. Should probably do a section in here in the future on, maybe we'll do it in, the capstone course on how to use the text editor in the terminal. But for now, Visual Studio Code works on this machine, and it offers a lot of things that you don't have to set up. Okay, so the biggest thing for using a database is you need this Flask SQL Alchemy. So if you do pip list, I think, you need to find a couple of things in here. You need Flask SQL Alchemy, okay, and to install that, you need to have run the command from a previous video to install pip, and then you can do pip install whatever it was, Flask SQL Alchemy. So I can highlight it, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-B, see if it works. Alright, it says I already have it installed, but you need this. You have to do this step. These setup steps, you only have to do once at the beginning. They're hard to remember, and they change depending on the technologies you're using. Okay, so now that we have Flask SQL Alchemy, we need to make sure we have another one called PyMySQL. Okay, so we do pip install PyMySQL, and once you have those two installed, you can then import them into your project. So we can say here, from this module, grab this class, SQL Alchemy, and down here, after you set up the Flask object as your app, you need to change the database connection string by setting the value of this key, SQL Alchemy database URI, to the information it needs to connect to the database. So what information will that be? So you'll need this, and then after the slash, so you're always going to have this using what we're using here. And then after that, you can follow this list up here. So here's the username for accessing the database. Here's the password for accessing the database. Here is the way to communicate with the database. So here localhost means we're using the loopback IP to connect to ourselves. And what do you think this number is? This number is the port. So it's going to communicate on this port, 3306. And then here you're choosing, once you're logged in with this username and password at this location, you put slash and then you put the name of the database you want to use. And so to keep things simple, I just used the name of the app as the username, password, and name of the database. And they don't conflict with each other in this type of situation. If you use this for your own purposes, you probably want to change the password to something more secure than this. And if you are, well, we won't worry about that. I'm hoping that we can get to the point where you guys could publish something live. It'll be optional though, because it costs money. I'm sure there's a free virtual host that you can use. Wait, what was that one called? Let's just, instead of me trying to think of it, let's just Google it. Free web app host. Free, okay, through Amazon. It's an ad. Okay. So this is something I need to get into to know more about it, but I couldn't figure it out last time I tried to do it. Heroku, that's what I'm looking for. Heroku, Cloud Application Platform. Build data-driven apps with fully managed data services. Awesome. Data is the key, blah, blah, blah. So I mentioned, some of you might be in the database class, I mentioned there is another popular database, relational database management system that uses something called Postgresql. I haven't used it that much, so I'm not sure the pronunciation for sure. But if you're going to talk to someone about it and for an interview or something, you should probably look that up. You don't want to look ignorant, even though it's just on surface value. You don't want to hurt your chances at getting a job, and it's something easy to do. Pronunciation. You may think, oh, this is a waste of time, right? No. Okay, let's see.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of this free and open source relational database management system emphasizing extensibility and SQL compliance, also known as simply Postgres. How do you go about pronouncing it?
Oh, well, that's easy. PostgresQL sounds like a mouthful, so we just call it Postgres. Anyway, so on here, Heroku delivers the world's most advanced open source database. So this is free. It's open source and it's free, and it passes a lot of standards for storing data securely and managing records securely. All right. Okay, we don't care about streaming right now. Let's get started. Well, let's finish setting up the database first. So, we were talking about this connection string. Well, where does this information come from? Well, you got to set it all up first. So, you want to check if your database management system is running. Service Mariadb. Okay, and if we're encountering, like I said, I'm only going to be showing you things that are relevant right now in modern times, and so we don't have time to learn all the details about everything. So you need to make some notes about these technologies and research them on your own. Try making a project with them on your own. Alright, what was I looking up? Oh, right, the connection string. So, I was talking about this because of MariaDB. Let's look that up. What is that? MariaDB. MariaDB server is one of the most popular open source relational databases. Alright, it's open source, it's free. Is MariaDB better than MySQL? Okay, it says improved speed, and this is from September 16th. Okay, which probably still true, but I don't even know what source this is, so who knows. Things can change quickly sometimes. Okay, MySQL exhibits a slower speed. The memory storage engine of MySQL is slower compared to that of MariaDB. Okay, so it doesn't talk about what it is. Here we go. MariaDB, It's a fork of the MySQL relational database management system. What does that mean? It's a fork. So, if you've been paying attention on GitHub, or even they have this option on Replit too. Let's look up. So here's the thing, when you're researching this stuff, you're always going to find more things to look up. Okay, so let's pretend you didn't know what forking was. Let's look up software development fork. In software engineering, a project fork happens when developers take a copy of source code from one package and start independent development, creating a distinct and separate piece of software. It's the ultimate form of not reinventing the wheel. So in Replit, when you guys send me your code and I need to test it out, I don't make changes to your copy unless you open it and invite me to make changes to your copy, which you don't need to do because that just confuses me. Anyway, as soon as I make changes to it, let me see if I can find my other account here. Or actually, I could just find any REPL. So we'll go home. Create recently edited. There we go. APT standard scale. I don't know what this. Oh, this is just a random name. Whoops, that's the one I made. Oh, I am logged in right now. There we go. Trending REPLs. Business Tycoon 1.0. This is probably some kind of like idle game or something. All right. Here it's saying this is Yvonne Vinesh, probably. I don't know. I would have to ask them. How to pronounce their name. Anyway, it's their code. They wrote this code, or at least whoever has this account wrote this code. Here's the name. All right. So if I try to make a change to this, pay attention to the username. This looks like when I this looks like how my software developer friend writes comments. Importing various crap. Alright. Anyway, the username is now mine on here. I just copied all the code over. Let's see what this does. Alright, how much money you want? 1. Alright, and then it looks like it's a text-based simulator type thing. Anyway, I'm running this on mine. Let's say I want to make some changes. Where it says, thank you for playing Business Tycoon, I can say, maybe I'll put some more exclamation points. Okay, it's not going to be reflected in the other one. Now this is a distinct, different piece of software from the first copy. I can change it however I want. So I have this framework here now for a game, text-based game. I can make it whatever I want. Okay. Let's go back and choose another one. The reason I'm showing you this is sometimes it's hard for people to come up with their own project ideas. And, inventors can come up with brand new ideas. Animals are fighting. Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. Hey, Scott, can you call the dog? He's going to be taking a nap. Okay. Oh yeah, we're going to look for something different. Ooh, a snake AI. Okay. So looks like they're using Java here. Oh, anyway, sometimes it's hard to come up with original ideas, and it's a lot more work to build something from scratch. And so this is a really good starting point. You can use Replit and find some interesting projects, and then apply stuff you already know to it. And that's a really good way to give yourself some practice trying to fit things together, and it'll open up things you don't have, knowledge you don't have, knowledge that you'll be able to give yourself. All right. I don't know what the AI is of this. All right. Are there comments? Nope. And so this person did not comment their code. So it's going to be difficult for me to understand what's going on. Not impossible. It's going to take a lot more work. And so instead of typing in there, I can hit this little button up here. This is the fork button. Looks like a path. We start with one thing, and then we copy it, and now there are two. try changing something in here, fundamental. Alright, so it's going up. Let's change the direction to -1. I have no idea the context of this. Just start changing stuff. And probably if you change the JavaScript code, you need to restart it. Okay, so now I'm not moving at all. So I broke it. Let's try changing it to 2. It says array list p vector. I have no idea what that is. Oh, 2 makes you start going to the right. See how I'm figuring it out? All right. And so, you know, if I was crazy, I could reprogram that business tycoon simulator as a web app and use a database. People could log in as a user, and instead of outputting the results to the terminal, I could return them as web pages. That would be a very interesting project. You don't have to create the game, you're just changing the format and adding on a new feature. So that's what forking is, and all of that to explain the difference between MySQL and MariaDB. They have a similar ancestor. This was the earlier version of MySQL. So that's what that is. So you need to be doing this as we go through, especially in this class and in the later classes. There's just too much information to go over. You know, unfortunately, you know, a lot of you in this class and probably in the capstone class in the next semester are going to have to play catch up on a lot of this. You're going to have to put in extra work. So, but I'm here to help. So we want to check service MariaDB status. We want to know if it's running, and it says it's dead. So we just need to start it up. Service MariaDB start. I think what happened is the VM probably updated. I think it said it was going to do that on Sunday, so it closed it, restarted it, and I think there's no script on startup to start the database, so we have to restart it when it restarts the VM. So that's probably what happened. Anyway, we set it to start, so we can go back and check status. We're looking for this. It's running now. It tells you when it started running 8 seconds ago. Interesting. Status, taking your SQL request now. Well, thank you. That's what we want you to do. So once that's on, it is time to log in to the database. And so I don't think, if you type MariaDB, it's not going to do anything. The command, and I wonder if it's like this because I don't know. I'm trying to think of why anyway, you have to type MySQL. And it says, welcome to the MariaDB monitor. This is important. Commands end with semicolon. So this input is going to look for commands separated by semicolons. Or apparently /G, I'm not sure what that is. Okay. We don't care about the connection ID, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now, I wonder what the command to clear is. Here we go. So I put a question mark, enter. It's like hitting F1 and opening the help, except this is very focused down into, you know, what commands there are. All right, I want to see if I can clear the page. Okay, I don't see it in here. Sometimes it's nice to try to figure it out yourself. Other times, you can save yourself a whole lot of time by looking it up. I have to remember my password. I'm so spoiled. Can you tell I don't know? I think I had to change. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it doesn't recognize SVM anymore. This is funny to live stream this. I'm not going to open my email. Anyway, if you go... I don't need to log in to do this. Let's just go to GitHub. And go to Explore. And let's look in trending. It's a good way to find a little project to work on. Look at some stuff that's trending. You can find some simple stuff. C#. I don't have as much experience with that since grad school, so I'm going to skip that. Here's a Python Data Science Handbook. So Python is used a lot by researchers for processing data, I'm assuming, which is what we learn how to do in the Python class. Slipstream allows an attacker to remotely access, okay, let's not do that. Cybersecurity. I think that's just a note. Ooh, roadmap to becoming an artificial intelligence expert. What is this? This is probably just files. Wait, did this go right? Yeah, AI expert roadmap. Okay, check out the README down here. Okay. Find a set of charts demonstrating the paths that you can take. So if you become a software developer because you like solving problems, that's fine. If it's not enough for you, you can take your programming knowledge and go further and do things with machine learning and AI. And honestly, even software developers are going to be using machine learning in their programming probably soon. I mean, some people already are, but okay. Anyway, this is just it looks like it has a bunch of stuff. So, what do you need to do to learn stuff? Okay, anyway, I was going to look at this because you have this button right here, fork. So you can do this, and it will copy all the code into your repository. You can do whatever you want with it at that point. Now, on GitHub, you do need to be aware of the license here. So in this case, it's an MIT license. So because software is just digital information, it can be copied very easily, which makes it, you make something once, you can disseminate it to a lot of people. This is the best way that we found to organize and have an agreement on how this stuff can be used. So, MIT license allows you to do all these things. It protects the original creator from liability. They do not have to provide you anything if you use their code on your system and it deletes your database. So knowing that, you probably don't want to use something like this without working on it and fixing it to fit your situation. So anyway, you also have to provide this information, and I think if you fork it, it'll just include it, so you don't have to do much. It'll automatically set it to that license. All right, but I think can you change it? Let's see. So here's all your legalese. Alright, so the above copyright notice and this permission notice shall be included in all copies or substantial portions of the software. So you have to continue something that you copy with an MIT license, I believe you have to follow the rules of the MIT license. So if someone else wants to use it, you can't sell it. No, I guess you can sell it. Okay. Without restriction. So you can use it, you can copy it, you can modify, merge, publish, distribute, sub-license, and or sell copies of the software. Okay, but you have to include this. So anyway, we're not talking about software licenses. But if you're pulling stuff off GitHub, you're going to want to do some research on repository licenses. And I mentioned it before in a previous video. Okay, so here's a bunch of different licenses. They have different rules. Here, you can use this one. Do what you want to. Do what you want to. Public license. There you go. Use that one. Okay. Anyway, going back here. Oh yeah. I just remembered the GitHub thing and totally distracted myself from finding the MariaDB clear command. No, I don't want that. You know, I'm probably thinking about this wrong. Is there a... if I reset and clear, it's going to log me out, I think. Nope. Okay. So you can just hit that if you need. It can become a mess, but if you're working on something, it can be useful to be able to go back and see what you did. It's probably stored somewhere. Let's check history. Just gonna guess. Nope. Okay. There is. Oh, here we go. That clears the. Oh, that just clears the current input statement. Okay. Anyway, looking here. I'll try it again. Didn't do anything. All right. Because that's not what it's doing. It's not clearing the thing. Okay, so telling us, okay, we're in MariaDB. We have no database selected, so we'd put the database name in here. So I can do show databases. And don't forget, it's not going to work if you don't put the semicolon. If you're like me and you constantly forget the semicolon and you try to run it, it does this, which means it's expecting you to keep typing because it doesn't know what to do until you hit a semicolon. So if that happens to you, you just have to add the semicolon and then it will go. Hopefully after a while you stop forgetting the semicolon if you use this a lot. Okay, so we have a couple of things in here. I thought I created the database before. Did I never get to that? I guess not. All right, well, we'll do create database flick list. This is good. I'll be able to do this now. So boom. Oh, I didn't log in properly. So I'm going to quit, get back to the main terminal, and so we want to do mysql -u root -p. This is saying open MariaDB, the username is root, and ask me for the password. I wonder if I can just do that. Nope. Okay. And so the root password by default, this is terrible, but by default it's nothing. So you just hit enter. And in a production environment, you would delete this. user of root with no password, because it's a giant glaring vulnerability, because it all every copy I think comes with that, because it's for testing purposes in the beginning and you need a way to get in. Okay, so now I'm in. Let's do show databases. Semicolon. Okay, so I have in this one flick list and a bunch of other stuff here. I wonder what's in MySQL. Select star from MySQL. Semicolon. Oh, but it says, okay, you don't have a database selected. I have no idea where you want me to run this command. No database selected. So we have to put in the command use flick list. That's how you select your database. And you know it's right when you see it in here. This reminds you what database you're in. So let's try. Oh, but I wanted to go into I was trying to select the rows from a database, but there are no rows in a database. There's rows in a table that's in a database. So let's go use. I want to know what's in here. So use MySQL. So it switched us to that database. And I want to do select. Oh, I want to see what tables there are. So show tables. Ooh, role mapping. Roles mapping. Oh, user. That's what I want to see. Select star from user. So we have, what do we have in here? A lot of fields. Let's grab host, user, and password. Select host, user, and password. And in this case, these are not case sensitive. I believe MySQL is not case sensitive. Oh, I'm gonna call him host. Okay, let's go back. Or crap, I want to do from user. All right, so here are our users. So here's all of these users that have no passwords. You can log in. This is the one we use to log in. And this one has the permissions to do everything. It can delete every database, everything. So you can see why that's a vulnerability. It has no password. It's always called root. So again, that's something you would get rid of. But we're going to keep it for now, because if you get rid of it, and we're just trying to make the setup as easy as possible for now. Anyway, here we go. Here's the flick list user I created for the app. All right. It looks like the password is encrypted. And let's see. What encryption does MariaDB use for user password? How old is that? Password hashing on So it's okay. All right. So remember, I set the password to flicklist, but it's showing me this. So what they did was they took the string flicklist, they ran it through a one-way encryption. So it's very difficult. I'm not exactly sure. It may be impossible to reverse engineer this currently back into the original password. Okay, it doesn't translate from this back into the password. The password translates into this when it's run through the hash function or whatever they're using on this. I can't get a clear answer. Anyway, so it's not going to show us the password. And so this is important to understand if you are signing for an account on a website. So this is something to keep track of, because we're going to be doing this in our web apps. You don't want to know the user's password. You never want to know the user's password. You don't want to store the user's password, ever. There's a reason why when you forget your password and you click the link, it sends you a link to reset your password. It's because they don't have your password. They don't want your password. So they just have the computer calculate it and store it as the encrypted value. And then when you try to log in, typing your password, they do the one-way encryption again, get the same value, and then they compare that to what you have stored. And that's how they test it. Okay. So I have this one created, but you would have to create this one yourself for your app. And so the idea is we're creating a user that can only access this one database and cannot change anything else inside the database. And what we're doing is we're kind of using that as a proxy for the web app to communicate to the database. And so we've basically created a user that the app can use to access the database. We've given it the username, we've given it the password. And here's a problem for you. And our password is in plain text here, right? So how do we solve that? Think about it. Come up with a way that you can put the use this connection string securely. So if someone gets onto the web server and gets this file, they know what the password is to the database. Okay. So let's create a user. And so I'm not leaving you in the dark here. And I'm trying to find time to clean this up, but it's all here for you. I think I moved it to the top too, database stuff. This PDF has my handwritten commands here. Sorry for the bad handwriting. It'd be so easy to just type this up, but the number of steps, I just cannot find the time to do it. Okay, because I'm always, immediately after this class, I have another class, and then I have to answer emails and student meetings, which are good. Everything's good, but I can't find the time to do this administrative stuff. So I need interns. Okay. Give me ideas. If you find yourself doing more than you can handle, that means you need to have someone you can delegate to. Okay. Or you need to do less, but no one likes to do that. Okay. So we did all this, Mysql, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we need to run this command. Create user, and then we choose a name, and we choose a host. So I'm going to make a new one. So let's do create user Bob at localhost. And then we need to run that command with a semicolon. Okay, and so now if we look at the information from the user, we have Bob. He has no password, so we can log in as Bob. I wonder what permissions he has. Let's look at that. Okay, does it say on here? Drop privilege. What are those yes and no's? Yeah. So I think if I zoom out, I just have to do this. Control minus. And then we make it big. We keep doing control. Control minus. Alright, look how long that table is. Anyway, I think I can zoom in here. Zoom back in. Alright. I don't think... Is there anything about... let's look up drop priv. We'll see drop priv in our results also. Select host, user, password, and drop priv. So, right now, none of these users can drop have the ability to drop things. So I'm logged in as root right now, so I could drop a table, I could drop a database. Let's see, what else we got in here? Ooh, look, create user privilege. Control-Shift-C. Try this. So I'm just listing the fields I want to have in my resulting table because there's too many to show them all normally. Create user privileges. So these new ones do not have. They can't create new privileges. They can't drop, and we could check the other ones. But the point is, we want to lock these down and only give them privileges for certain things. Okay, so we created the user Bob by running this command. Create user Bob at localhost. Now we got to run this long one. Grant all privileges on database name dot table name to user at host. So Bob at localhost. And then we have to add, this is part of the same command, identified by, and then you give them a password. And so if you were, had a user interface to create users, you wouldn't create users that access the database very often. Except in this case where we want to disseminate control over each database to the app that's using it. So I have FlickList set up to be able to access the FlickList database. And I have Bob doesn't have anything. He's just a user that isn't able to do anything right now, I believe. He might have select privileges. Let's see if he has select privileges. And that is called probably select priv. Oh, it's the first one because it's the most useful one here. It's one you're going to be using a lot. Control-Shift-C. Add this one into our result. Whoops. Alright, select. No, it doesn't even have select privileges. So as Bob, you can't even pull information out of any of the tables. So that's good though, because if you create the user and you never give them a password, you don't want that as a backdoor into things. Okay, so we need to do that command that says grant all privileges on database.table. So grant all privileges, and so technically this would look like this, grant, but again SQL is not case sensitive, grant all privileges. I'm just doing this to prove a point. Grant all privileges to, is it to or on? On. So you say that, so let's just give Bob access to the flick list database. Grant all privileges on flick list. So that's the database. He has all privileges on this database. But which tables do we want to have him to have access to? Well, all of them. So we use the star. And now it's to the user at localhost. So to Bob at localhost. And then you don't run the command yet with a semicolon. There's more, right? You have to do identified by and the password. I'm just going to make it Bob for simplicity. Bonus points if any of you can tell me what exactly why a longer password makes it more secure. And it's not because it would be, if someone tried to social engineer the password out of you and you're like, oh, it's just too long, I don't want to tell you, it's too annoying. It's not that. Though, that might be part of it. All right. So we gave him those privileges. Let's check. Take a look. All right. So there he is. Here is the password Bob converted to this. And so this might help you understand. Let's go back. Let's create another user. Sally. And let's give her the privileges on that one table to Sally. And we're going to make her password Bob also. And now let's pull up the list of users. And since they have the same password, the function that converts it is one way, and it's always going to give you the same result if you give it the same input. It always has the same result. So if you have a short password like Bob, it wouldn't take people very long to figure out. They could, if they got this, with this alone, they cannot reverse engineer this back into Bob. But what they can do is there's nothing stopping them from creating a password of A, checking the value, creating a password of B, checking the value. And so it's like a combination lock. You just try every combination of characters and until you get a match. And in the Python class, I show you how to build a tool like that. So I can demonstrate to you one technique that people use to get passwords, so that way you can, understand how important it is to defend against it, and to prevent your users from creating 3-letter passwords. Because when, I could write a Python script that will run this encryption, this hashing function, this one-way conversion on every set of characters to get all these codes and just have it look for one that matches this value. Okay? And so how many combinations are there? Even if you just use the 26 letters of the alphabet, how many combinations are there of 3 letters? How many combinations are there of 4 letters, 5 letters, 6 letters, 7 letters? It goes up exponentially. So you need a much faster computer if you want to crack, reverse engineer a list of password values up to a certain point. So, you know, it wouldn't take that long to create a list and store it of all the passwords that uses encryption up to 3 characters, and then you don't even have to generate them anymore. You can just check the list, compare any value you get to the list. Okay, I'm wondering if this uses salting though. Let's see, and what they would call it. Probably wouldn't call it salt. This is one of those things that my advisory council really wants you to know, is just some basics about the importance of security in your apps, in your websites, in everything. And so when you're just trying to do something quickly, you don't put a short password on that. Okay. Because you know it might be easy to crack. Anyway, that's enough about that. I was wondering if we could see the privileges of, let's check, maybe in this roles mapping. Oh, there's tables priv. Let's try that. That's probably something. Let's go back. So I think these ones are like global drop privilege, global create user privilege. So you could create, you could drop anything, you could create users anywhere and give them privileges, maybe that's included in there. And then you can run a select command globally to any database and any table. But we're going to add, let me guess, I didn't copy it. Okay, what was it again? Darn it, why did I do that? It was table priv. Show DB privilege. I just had it. It's like table priv. Tables priv. I'm gonna have to go here soon, so sort of finish through this process of setting up the database that's taken me way too long to go over. But I mean, I go through it more concisely. I think it's in the previous video or the one before that. You should be watching those and absorbing. Why can't I see this now? Okay, I'm just gonna have to force myself to look at everyone. Is it not in there? That's weird. Oh, did I skip it? Yes, it was in the different. No. Okay, I'm just gonna use table. No, it was like privilege, tables privilege priv or something. Can I find stuff in here? No, I can't. Okay. Well, I probably can, but dang it. Maybe. there we go. We want to search for, it's Control-Shift-F. Why did I think of that? Table. Oh, it was a separate table. Okay, my bad. So let's look up tables priv. Wow. Hopefully you fast forwarded through that. So we want to select star from tables priv. Did I put the right one? Oh, nothing in there. So I guess it's not in there. What about role mapping? That might be roles mapping. That might be it. Select star from roles mapping. Nope, nothing in there. Huh. Well, you know what? When you can't find it, you should just look it up. So, where are privileges stored in MariaDB? Show privileges. Okay. There we go. Show grants. There we go. Anyway, let's look. Show grants. Bob. What did I forget? Do I need... Oh, I gotta put it in quotes probably. No. Okay. Maybe I just put show grants. Show grants. Grants for root. Oh, okay. Bob at localhost. Bob at localhost. No. Let's see if it just shows you based on the database you have selected. Use flick list. And then let's do show grants. See if there's examples. Show grants for. Okay. Missed that. Show grants for Bob at localhost. Alright. Grant usage on all databases and all tables to Bob at localhost identified by password blah blah blah. Grant all privileges on flick list. All tables to Bob at localhost. So I'm showing you this because I don't want to just show you the command to create a user and how to give it privileges without giving you any context. I hope people watch this, because you're not going to get very far without it. If you've been watching all the way through here, you're going to be fine. Okay. Now, what the heck? I wanted to see... There was a list of privileges in this last one here. I wanted to see usage. No privileges. Allow connect only. So you can connect, which you need to do to log in. So let's try logging in as Bob. So I'm going to quit the database. Actually, let's log in as flick list. So we do MySQL. The user is flick list. the password is, I don't know if it'll let me put it in here, but we'll try flick list. No, and we don't need semicolon there. What did it do? Alright, let's try it again. Well, I didn't like that, so I wonder if I can mark that as a string. Oh, it's asking me for the password, it's just not showing it. Okay, flick list. No. Alright, well, let's clear this first. Clear. Try again. MySQL -u flick list -p. Password is flick list. So now I'm in here. If I do show databases, now I only see flick list and then these other two. Not sure. Maybe these are set up to have permissions for everyone. Okay. Let's see what's in that information schema. Everything is stored in MySQL as tables, I'm pretty sure, which is information. Okay, reading table, no. Okay, so show tables. We got all kinds of stuff in here. Ooh, table privileges. Let's see if we can see, is there users in here? Ooh, user variables. Let's see if that's empty. Select star from user variables. Nothing's in there. Okay. I wonder if these are all empty or what that is. It might just be showing you this. Usually schema is like schematics or how you structure things. Knowing the meaning of words helps you learn things without having to look it up all the time. So let's look up schema. A representation of a plan or theory in the form of an outline or model. So when you're creating, in the database class, you're creating ER diagrams so that you can get closer to the schema you're going to use for your database. And it'll eventually become the create an SQL, create database, create table statements, all that. Okay. So I'm sure I wonder if this is just showing me what tables there are. Maybe. That's my guess. I don't know for sure. Anyway, let's go back to use flick list. Alright. And then here I can do show tables. We have the movie table. I can select select star from movie. We can see the movies that I entered using the app. Alright. So following these steps that I've given you here in my terrible handwriting is the first step to setting up the database. And then we talked about last time creating the class and using that with this code here. You run this stuff down here. So make sure you update the connection string for your app. What is that again? It's right here. It's this. This is this part at the end. This is your connection string. You need to provide the username and password that you set up, the location and the port, and the name of the database. And so you would do this for any app that you are going to create that uses a database in this class or outside, if you're going to use Flask and MySQL. Alright, and So from the last video and this video, you should be able to set up what you need for the assignment, which is the Build-A-Blog project. Okay. And you can see what it's supposed to look like, which is really helpful. Okay. And so take a look at this. You know, watch this on your own. It shows you how it's supposed to work. So you enter in a blog post title, a message, and then it stores it in the database, and then it pulls the information out of the database to create a list of your posts. Which, you know, in Flick List, we were doing the same thing. Let me get out of here, quit, and we'll go Python main.py. We'll get it started. We'll open the website. And so here it's pulling out the names that are stored in the database, and we can see that. If we go back into the database, I'll go to File, New Tab, and I'll have this one connect to the database. MySQL, -u, flick list, -p, the password is flick list. So you would never use that as your password in a real situation, but here where I'm worried that you're going to forget the password because we're making a million passwords, we're doing it just for that reason. Okay. We can use flick list to get into the database, and then we can do select star from movie. Is it movie or movies? Movie. Okay. So we have these three records. They're still in here, and the web page is pulling them out using the database. Well, Python's pulling them out and building this page with those, because we have a loop that says, okay, all the records you have pulled out from the database, build this unordered list. And when I add something, and I add it, it stores it in the database. When I come back, it's going to show that here, and we can see that it's in the database by loading the, pulling the information from the table again. There it is, yada yada. We built all that, we got it going. That's basically, you know, if you can do that, the blog is fairly simple. You probably just have to, you know, put the pieces together. There's a million pieces. There's HTML, there's SQL, and there's the Python code and function calls. So down here in main.py, when we want to use the database, we have to reference the database object we created. The session is kind of like the top of the slide. You're getting all your, you're adding things. Maybe it's better to think of it as like a train. You have a train that's at the user's, well, I need to make a diagram, but I don't have time. So anyway, when you're adding to the session here, you're taking information and you're preparing to add it to the database. And then until you commit, it won't be saved. So here we're taking in the new movie I typed in. I hit add. It runs. That button goes to the add route, which runs this function and does all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. This is the part where we are adding it to the database. And then this is from a long time ago where we just say, hey, you did it. Okay. Should be good now. Good to go. So, I don't think anyone was watching this live. But I did tell everyone to go vote, so I'm just going to assume you're all voting. How long can you vote? Wait. Voting deadline. I don't know what I was thinking. I need to eat lunch. Okay. time deadline? I'm just curious. You can stop the video now if you want. What time, you know, we have natural language processing in here, so what time does voting stop? I guess it might depend on the place, right? State by state poll closing times. I guess we're in Illinois, right? 6 a.m. So yeah, you might be out voting. You have until 7 p.m. Who's the latest? Ooh, Alaska's till 8 p.m. And there's Oregon. Voting is done by mail. Washington, voting is done by mail. I wonder if this is because of just for the 2020 election. North Dakota. Done by mail. Okay, anyway. That's it for today. I will see you guys next week. Email me if you have any questions.